All the Grahams desired was a home they could call their own. But what did the home want? They never cared to ask. But what did the home want? On his last night on Earth, Ted Graham stepped out of a glass-walled telephone booth, ducked to avoid a swooping moth that batted itself in frenzy against a bare globe above the booth. He couldn't believe how foolish the thing was, smashing itself against the glass. What is it even after, he thought. Ted Graham was a long-necked man with a head pronounced egg-shape, topped with the prematurely balding sandy hair. Something about his lanky, intense appearance suggested his occupation. Certified accountant, it was. He had a nervousness about him, like a fish taking a peek at land. He stepped from behind his wife, who was studying a newspaper classified page, and frowned. They said to wait here. They'll come get us. Said the place is hard to find at night. Martha Graham looked up from the newspaper. She was a red-faced woman, heavily pregnant, a kind of pink prettiness about her. The yellow glow from the light above the booth subdued the red auburn cast on her ponytail. I have to be in a house when the baby's born. What did they sound like? I don't know, there was a kind of interruption, like an argument in some foreign language. Did they sound foreign? In a way. He motioned along the night-shrouded lines of trailers toward one of the two windows glowing amber. Let's wait inside these bugs. They're fierce. Did you tell them which trailer is ours? Yes. They didn't sound at all anxious to look at it. That's odd. Wanting to trade their house for a trailer. There's nothing odd about it. They probably got an itchy feeling, that's all. He appeared not to hear. Funniest thing, their language was weirder than anything you'd ever heard. It's like a squirt of noises. And inside the trailer, Ted Graham sat down on the green couch that opened into a double bed for company. They could use a good tax accountant around here, I'll tell you that. When I first saw this place, I got the definite feeling. The valley looks prosperous. It's a wonder nobody's opened an office here before. His wife took a straight chair by the counter, separating kitchen and living area, folded her hands across her heavy stomach. I'm just continually tired of wheels going around under me. I just sit and stare at the same view for the rest of my life. I don't know how a trailer ever seemed glamorous when it was the inheritance. It gave us itchy feet, remember? Tires gritted on gravel outside. Martha Graham straightened. Is that them? Awful quick if it is. And he went to the door and opened it. Stared at the man who was just raising a hand to knock. Are you Mr. Graham? Yes. I'm Clint Rush. You called about the house? The man moved farther into the light. At first he appeared an old man, fine wrinkle lines in his face, a tired leather look to his skin. But as he moved his head in the light, the wrinkles seemed to dissolve, and with them, the years lifted from him. Yes, we called. You want to look at the trailer now? We've kept it in awfully good shape. We've never let anything seriously go wrong with it. She sounds too anxious, thought Ted Graham. I wish she'd let me do the talking. We can come back and look at your trailer tomorrow with daylight. My car's right out here, if you'd like to see our house. And Ted Graham hesitated. He felt a nagging worry tug at his mind. Tried to fix his attention on what bothered him. Hadn't we better take our car? We could follow you. No need. We're coming back into town tonight anyway. We can drop you off then. Be right with you as soon as I lock up then. And inside the car, Rush mumbled introductions. His wife was a dark shadow in the front seat, her hair drawn back in a severe bun. He called her Raimi. Odd name, thought Ted Graham. And he noticed that she too gave the strange first impression of age that melted into a shift of light. Miss Rush turned toward Martha Graham. "And you are going to have a baby?" Came out as an odd, veiled statement. And abruptly, the car rolled forward. Martha Graham said, "It's supposed to be born about 2 months. I have a feeling it's a boy." Miss Rush looked at her husband. "I've changed my mind," she said. Rush spoke without taking his attention from the road. "Is it too..." He broke off, spoke in a tumble of strange sounds. Ted Graham recognized it as the language he'd heard on the telephone. Miss Rush answered the same tongue, anger showing in the intensity of her voice. Her husband replied, his voice calmer. Presently, Miss Rush felt moodily silent. Rush tipped his head toward the rear of the car. "My wife has moments when she does not want to get rid of the old house, you see. It has been with us for many years." Ted Graham said, "Oh, are you from Spain?" Rush hesitated. "No." He turned the car down a well-lighted avenue that merged into a highway. They turned onto a side road. There followed more turns, left, right, right. Ted Graham lost track. They hit a jolting bump that made Martha gasp. "I hope that wasn't too rough on you. We're almost there." The car swung into the lane, its lights picking up the skeleton outlines of trees. Peculiar trees. Tall, gaunt, leafless. They added to Ted Graham's feeling of uneasiness. The lane dipped, ended at a low wall of a house. Red brick with clerestory windows beneath overhanging eaves. The effect of the wall and a wide-beam door they could see to the left was ultra-modern. Ted Graham helped his wife out of the car, followed the Rushes to the door. "I thought you told me this was an old house," he said. "It was designed by one of the first modernists." He fumbled with an odd curved key. The wide door swung open onto a hallway equally wide, carpeted with a deep pile rug that could almost glimpse floor-to-ceiling views, windows at the end of the hall, city lights twinkling beyond. Martha Graham gasped. Entered the hall through a trance. Ted Graham followed. Heard the door close behind him. "It's so big. It's so big. You wanna trade this for our trailer?" "It's too inconvenient for us. My work is over the mountains on the coast. We cannot sell it." Ted Graham looked at him sharply. "Isn't there any money around here?" He had a sudden vision of a tax accountant with no customers. "There's plenty of money. No real estate customers." They entered the living room. Sectional divans lined the wall. Subdued lighting glowed from the corners. 2 paintings hung on the opposite walls, oblong of odd lines and twists that made Ted Graham dizzy. Warning bells clamored in his mind. Martha Graham crossed to the window, looked at the light far below. "I had no idea we'd climb that far. It's like a fairy city." Miss Rush emitted a short, nervous laugh. Ted Graham glanced around the room, thought, if the rest of the house is like this, it's worth $50,000, $60,000. He thought of the trailer, a good one, but not worth more than $7,000. Uneasiness was like a neon sign in his mind, flashing. This seems so... Would you like to see the rest of the house? Oh, yes. Martha Graham turned from the window. Ted Graham shrugged. No harm in looking, he thought. When they returned to the living room, Ted Graham had doubled his previous estimate on the house value. His brain reeled with the summing of it. A solarium with an entire ceiling covered by sun lamps. An automatic laundry where you drop soiled clothes down a chute. Took it, washed and ironed, from the inn. Perhaps you and your wife would like to discuss it in private. We will leave you for a moment. When they were gone, before Ted Graham could protest, Martha Graham said, Ted, honestly, never in my life had I dreamed. Something's very wrong though, honey. But Ted, this house is worth at least $100,000, maybe more. They want to trade this for a $7,000 trailer? Ted, they're weirdos. And if they're so foolish they don't know the value of this place, then why should... I don't like it. Again, he looked around the room. Recalled the fantastic equipment of the house. Yeah, but maybe you're right. He stared down at the city lights. They had a lace-like quality. Tall buildings linked by lines of flickering incandescence. Something like a Roman candle shot skywards in the distance. Okay, he said. If they want to trade, let's go push the deal. Abruptly, the house shuddered. The city lights blinked out. A humming sound filled the air. Martha Graham clutched her husband's arm. Ted? What was that? I don't know. He turned. Mr. Rush? Mr. Rush? No answer. Only the odd humming. And the door at the end of the room opened. A strange man came through it. He wore a short toga-like garment of gray metallic cloth, belted at the waist by something that glittered and shimmered through every color of the spectrum. An aura of coldness, though. Something like power emanated from him. A sense of untouchable hauteur. He glanced around the room. Spoke in the same tongue the Rushes had used. Ted Graham said, I don't understand what you're saying, mister. The man put his hand to his flickering belt. Both Ted and Martha Graham felt themselves rooted to the floor. A tingling sensation vibrating alone on every nerve. Again, the strange language rolled from the man's tongue. But the words were not understood. So he changed the way he spoke. Who are you? My name's Graham. It's my wife. What's going? How did you get here? The Rushes, they wanted to trade us this house for our trailer. They brought us, and now look, What is your talent? What is your occupation? Tax accountant? Say, why all these... What was to be expected? Clever. Oh, excessively clever. His hand moved again to the belt. Now, be very quiet. This may confuse you momentarily. Colored lights filled both the Grahams' minds. They stood there, staggered. You qualify. You will serve. Where are we? Demanded Martha Graham. The coordinates would not be intelligible to you. I am of the Rojak. It is sufficient for you to know that you are currently under Rojak sovereignty. Ted Graham said. But you have, in a way, been kidnapped. And the Rammies have fled to your planet, an unregistered planet. I'm afraid. You have nothing to fear. You're no longer on the planet of your birth, nor even in the same galaxy. That device on your wrist, it tells your local time. Yes? That will help on the search. And your sun, can you describe its atomic cycle? Ted Graham groped in his mind for his science memories from school, Sunday supplements. I can recall that our galaxy's a spiral. Most galaxies are spirals. Is this some kind of joke? It's not a joke. Now, I will make you a proposition. All right. Let's have the stinger. The people who brought you here were tax collectors we Rojak recruited from a subject planet. They were conditioned to make it impossible for them to leave their job untended. Unfortunately, they were clever enough to realize that if they brought someone else whom they could do their job, they would be released from their mental bonds. Very clever. But you may have their job. Normally, you wouldn't be put to work in lower echelons, but we believe in meting our justice wherever possible. The Rammies undoubtedly stumbled on your planet by accident, lured you into this position without... How do you know I can do your job? The moment of brilliance was an aptitude test. You passed. Well, do you accept? What about our baby? You will be allowed to keep it until it reaches the age of decision. About the time it will take the child to reach adult stature. Then what? The child will be with you. You will receive conditioning similar to that which gave the Rammies, and we will want to examine your memories to aid us in our search for your planet. It would be good to find a new inhabitable place. Why do they trap us like this? I'm not going to lie. What's ahead of you? It's lonely work. Will we travel? Martha Graham repeated in dismay. Almost constantly. Ted Graham felt his mind whirling. Behind him, he heard his wife sobbing. The Rammies sat in what had been the Graham's trailer. For a few moments I feared he would not succumb to the bait. I knew you could overcome the mental compulsion enough to lead them there without first agreeing. Yes. You know I'm going to indulge in everything the Rolak never permitted. I'm going to write ballads, poems, and I'm going to paint. Oh, delicious freedom. Greed. Greed won this for us. The long study of the Grahams paid off. They couldn't refuse the trade, could they? I knew they'd agree. The looks in their eyes when they saw the house. She broke off, a look of horror coming into her eyes. Wait. One of them did not agree. They both did. You heard them. The baby. He stared at his wife in silence. But it's not at the age of decision. Perhaps 18 of this planet's years it will be of the age of decision. Oh, what then? His shoulders sagged. He shuddered. won't be able to fight it off. I'll have to build a transmitter, call the Rojak and confess. They will collect another inhabitable planet. His voice was flat, toneless. I've spoiled it. I've spoiled all of it. His foot rested on the table. He depressed it. Instantly, the sled shot skyway, heavy G's pressing down into the seats. To them, the weight was still only about twice that of his home planet, Shargon. He reached over, looked at his wife, then he eased off the acceleration. We don't need the humans. We have machines to do our work. We'll send experts in here. Teach you people how to exploit your planet. How to build good transportation facilities. Show you how to mine your minerals. And what will the humans do in return? Well, I certainly hope they see things our way. We really don't want to have to come down there, clean them out, and be ashamed to have to blast the city into tiny little pieces. His wife wilted. Yes, that would be a shame. Mr. Graham lifted his glass, sipped the liquor, smacked his lips as in his house whirling through space. For a while there, I thought I'd never be tasting anything like this again. His wife took her own glass. I know what you mean. I might have known, said Mr. Graham. He took another sip of the brandy. There's such an odd bunch of characters. Miss Graham flicked on the switch of her recorder beside him. Okay. You can go ahead at any time. Where do you want me to start? Maybe with how you first met those weirdos. I mean, should we really record this stuff? We'll never be able to take it to the press or anything. I'd rather just forget this whole thing, move on. I mean, now we do have this nice house. And a child on the way. It'll be safe for now, I guess. But can you really keep the secret? That we live in a house built by aliens for aliens? No. I kind of felt from the first minute of meeting them that they had a mean demeanor. Why? I don't know, they just came in like a raiding party, you know? Already acting like they own the place. I guess so. Trying to think of the right word for it. Okay, I agree. We should record ourselves and take it to the press if we ever get the chance, no matter what may come. Yeah. Did you notice their eyes? The vertical slits. The pupils of their eyes. Almost human, but not quite. Maybe. What's it mean to you? Night-hunting predators, accustomed to dropping upon its victims from above, have eyes like that. No other type of creature ever has a vertical slit. Those people, those things, they come from a high place. Dark. High. Like on the dark side of any moon. Looking out into space from here, you know. It almost makes you feel like a moth. Smashing against the glass. All the Grahams desired was a home they could call their own. But what did the home want? They never cared to ask.